Hi, I'm Elizabeth.
And I'm Cody.
And this is Keeping Score Board Game Reviews. And today we're going to be reviewing Rumian by Murdoch Games.
Rumian is a games game. I mean, it's got a theme, trying to take over the town and become the new ruler by getting enough points to get the trophy item sigil thingy there. But it's really a workers placement game, and you're going to achieve this by building cottages, which are 2 points, gates, which are 1 point, and give you resources when somebody goes from town to one of the 3 spots, and by selling things to the market.
Or completing quests, or getting special cards, which sometimes will give you extra points.
So to give you an idea of about quests, it says if you have at least 5 wood, I would gain 2 victory points. Or I gain 1 victory point for each bread I have, up to 2 bread. You would get bread by taking 2 of the little wheat pieces that you gain in the countryside and then turning those into a good.
An example of the special cards, this one is Thieves in the Night. So you can take any 2 resources from each player with a higher score than you. So that's actually pretty valuable because if you have those extra resources, you can then craft your goods to then sell and get more victory points.
Now, there's a couple of little twists that make this better than just your standard Euro worker placer or worker placement game. Dear, could you put your other worker somewhere on the board?
Oh, yeah, I forgot about him.
It's all right. So we're going to show you kind of how a turn goes, and I'm going to try to highlight those things that I really like about this game. So first and foremost, I guess I'll take the first turn. On your turn, you're going to get 4 actions, 1 for each of these little cubes. And you're going to be able to do these actions. Now, these actions can be done up to 2 times per turn, except for crafting goods, selling goods, and trading goods. Those can only be done once. So on my action, I'm going to move down here. Now, this is where the game gets a little more fun than your typical worker placement because there's not room for 2 of us on this spot. So we have to roll attack and defend dice. I've rolled higher than her, so I get to take that spot and kick her back to town. Now what's nice is when I take that spot, we have this nice little tray here. I get to take a resource of the place I took over, correct?
Or a victory point.
Or a victory point. And I think this time I'm going to take a resource. I am then going to use my next action, because that was battle. This one's going to be gather resources. So I'm going to gather another one of these little wheat resources. And then, since I'm there, I'm going to do one of my once per turn actions, and I'm going to craft a good. It means I'll take this wheat and turn it into a bread. That, if you noticed from my quest earlier, is halfway to getting that quest completely completed. Now I'm going to gather another resource, but you don't have to give it to me because I'm going to use the action to buy a card. And that I will buy an extra quest card with. After crafting at least 2 barrels on the same turn, I gain 2 victory points immediately after I play crafting. So that would be my turn.
So because I'm in the town, I can choose to get the resource of a pickaxe. So if I get a resource, I'm going to get a pickaxe. And
hammer, technically, but pickaxe, hammer, whatever.
It looks like a pickaxe to me. Pickaxe then will allow me to sell my resource. Or no, it'll allow me to buy a card and use this to then get a special card. I already know what the top one is, so we'll go to the next one. So remove 1 building from the game board.
Oh, well. That means I have 1 less cottage. Now, the good news is once you've scored the victory points for your buildings, they stay. So that just means I can build that cottage somewhere else later.
So, in theory, I decide I want some wood from the forest. But in order to get the wood, I have to go past the wolf, which means I'm going to have to battle the wolf. So to battle the wolf, you have to roll higher than a 7 to beat the wolf. And I'm going to roll my die. And I beat the wolf because I scored higher than a 7. So now I get to stay in the woodlands, and I get to put the wolf wherever it is I want.
And you also gain resources.
And I gain a resource for beating the wolf. I get I get 2 resources of my choice. So now the wolf is with Cody.
Which means it automatically kicks me back to town. If I had resources, if I have 5 or fewer, I lose one resource. If I have 6 or more, I lose 2. But since I have 0, I lose 0. But I do get kicked out of my spot and head straight back to town.
So that's kind of how the game is played. We played it with 2-player and with 3.
It is much better with 3 to 4 players.
Yeah, because the fact that there's 3 places that can only be controlled by 1 person, and then you have the wolf in play. With 3 players, there's always going to be somebody that has to battle the wolf, usually.
Almost always, yeah.
And so it definitely played quite a bit better at 3, because at 2, there wasn't a whole lot of battling between the 2 of us. Of course.
Now, another thing you could do is you can go to the council. And that is a lot more interesting in a 3 or 4-player game, because the majority of the players have to choose to go to the council on that turn if you want anything to happen. If, for instance, she goes to the council, and then a 3rd player went to the council, and let's say I'm up here. Well, since they went to the council and voted against me, I would lose 2 points. And then I would take a little council token and put it near my playfield to show that they can't use the council on me again. So that is a possibility to kind of balance that score difference that can happen sometimes. Another way to gain score is to sell your goods that you make to the market when it's got the proper goods that are available.
So things we liked about the game. I like that it isn't extremely complicated. It was easy for his 11-year-old son to learn. I like the fact that there's these pretty good cards that kind of tell you everything you can do. The one thing that's missing from this, and that we had issues with in our first game that we played, was what happens with the wolf when he moves into your territory. That's not on the card.
We had to reference the rule.
So we had to look that up. But otherwise, this is pretty extensive as far as what you can do, what kind of resources you can get, how you can sell it. And all these little sections on here coordinate with a spot on your action card.
And I really like the action cards. It's really nice that you have these 4 cubes that you can just, mark exactly what actions you're taking on your turn. So it's very easy to keep track of things. You don't have to think about in the back of your mind, what actions can I do? They're simply laid in front of you, and you know how many times you can do them by the way the card is designed. Great. And the art is nice for a Euro worker placement. It's nice little art. There's a lot of really funny little villagers in there if you look real down at it. So there's some fun stuff to see on the art. And it's clearly defined symbology too. You can't mess up what you get for going to each space and what goods you can make, because they're clearly labeled with these big symbols.
We also didn't touch on the fact that there's red dots on the score tracker here. When you hit a red dot, that activates an event card, which in turn moves the wolf
and changes the market.
Changes what's in the market and where the market is at.
So with that card that we just drew, the market would move over here to the mountains. It would have barrels on it, but it would also have bread on it now instead. So those are the 2 things that you could sell or trade at the market, are barrel and bread now. And then the wolf, of course, moved here, meaning it would kick her off, and she would lose, 1 good because she's got at least 2. And then from there, the turns would keep going until somebody hits 14. Now, when a player hits the score of 14, all other players get 1 more turn to try to catch up, which, incidentally, is how I won one of our 3-player games by a single point because I built a cottage. She wasn't terribly thrilled by that.
Yep. I had a whole bunch of these special cards and event cards. I played back-to-back and moved up 4 or 5 spaces and thought, okay, I've got it cinched now. And he magically had enough resources to build a cottage.
Oh, it wasn't magical. It was planned.
So I mean, overall, the game's nice.
Yeah.
I like the little storage box here for all your wooden tokens and for your goods that you trade for and craft. The wolf is an interesting idea. It took us a little bit to get used to how he moved.
But once we know how he moves, he's a nice little point of contention that rises up.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what I really like is, yes, it's a worker placement game. Yes, it's a board game. Yes, it's a Euro, but it also has just a little bit of player conflict, which lends itself wonderfully to making the game a little bit more adventuresome and a little bit more urgent when you're trying to score those points. The Kickstarter for Rumian did just start today, October 28th, and it is available. I think they've already funded as of the time we recorded this today, so they are good to go. This is a prototype copy, though, and it has seen some better days simply because we were the last team to get it, which is fine. The game was really nicely put together, and if this is the prototype, then you have nothing to worry about quality-wise. It's a great little game.
Yep. So, final thoughts?
I'd give it an 8. I mean, normal games like this without that little bit of interaction would probably score in the 7 range for me, 7.5. But that little bit of interaction between players bumps it up to an 8 for me, I think.
I'd probably give it a 7.5. Mainly because I like the special cards. Some of those were actually somewhat funny, but I didn't necessarily enjoy the wolf going around and attacking you and taking your resources. And that's just me personally. I didn't like the unknown of the wolf. I think the best thing overall, though, for both you and my son was the ease of learning the game, because it was very clearly put together and very easy for even new players to get into. So that really is a point in its favor. I mean, this is one of those games that will hit your game table on a regular basis, take you 30, 40 minutes, but you're all going to have a good time, and you're not going to have to think about it too hard. So that's our review for Rumian, and hopefully you guys enjoyed it, and you'll check it out soon.
Yep, check out Rumian by Murdoch Games on Kickstarter. It looks really good, and we really like it, so thank you very much.